Hey guys, Colleen here, DIYer behind LemonThistle.com, and today I'm excited to share 6 different Halloween DIYs using dollar store decor with you guys. Before we get into it, if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, I would so love if you did that below so you don't miss out on any more DIY or home decor videos. All right, so the first one is this pumpkin cutout that I got. I believe this one's from Dollar Tree, and I wanted to try my hand at painting some kind of abstract florals using really thick acrylic paint. I've seen a few videos where people paint florals like this on TikTok, and I thought, man, I want to try. Definitely had no idea what I was doing, but I just chose some colors that I thought would look beautiful for fall and put them straight onto the wood cutout. And then using a large flat brush, I brushed them into kind of floral shapes. I didn't clean my brush between any of this. I just kind of would go from flower to flower where I thought the colors would work really well together. And I love how the paints ran together and created some dimension in the flowers themselves. And then at this point I was really questioning myself, but I pulled it together in the end when I started mixing colors and kind of dabbing onto the center of each flower. Totally changed the whole look of the florals, and now I really love them. So you look at it with the center of the flowers. So pretty. So I let this dry. It took a really long time because the paint was so thick, but then once it was, I decided I wanted to make it not just a fall DIY, but a Halloween DIY as well, inspired by this bucket DIY that I made last year. You can see it right here. It's a YouTube video, so I will link that below. And that's also a dollar store bucket, so dollar store DIYs for the win. And so I flipped it over, and this time I used a paint marker, which isn't from the dollar store, but use whatever you have. You could use paint with a paintbrush too. And I did just freehand this. I think in the future I would take some time and I would sketch it, but it was fun. And for just a dollar store project, I was really happy with how it turned out. So I wrote, it's just a bunch of hocus pocus, and then I thickened up my downstrokes to make it look like brush lettering, which you know I love. And then to fill in some of the spaces, because I didn't balance it out the best just with freehanding it, I added some dots and some kind of fun lines and spiders to just fill out the space and even it out. I love having reversible decor for some of these smaller holidays because you can hang it once and just flip it over for the 2 weeks that you want Halloween decor. All right, so next up, I found this roll of black felt, and originally I was gonna make a wreath with it, but then I cut out one bat and I decided to just keep going and make a garland. This felt roll is so long, you could make a really, really long felt garland. Like, I have so much left over. I could definitely keep going with this. But to make the bats, just fold it in half, about half the size of your bat, and then you can cut the felt using fabric scissors. You'll want to use really great fabric scissors to make it easy. And I didn't use a template, but you can print off templates offline or like trace it out, whatever you like. I just went with it. This took about 5 minutes to make all these bats, so I've sped this up super speedy for you. When you're cutting the bats out, just make sure that you leave where the wings connect to one another between the bats so you don't cut the bats apart into individual bats. All my bats were a little bit different because the felt shifted every time I kind of folded it around, so I definitely would recommend using a template if you do want it to look perfect or really uniform. I just hung this using double-sided mounting tape, but you could also put some strings on the ends to tie onto nails or whatever you choose. Okay, using that same roll of felt, and I still had so much left over, I made a couple tiny little pennants for Halloween, and I wanted to show 2 different ways to make them. So you can get bags of tiny dowels at the dollar store, so I used a couple from one of the old bags that I have, and I just hot glued those onto the top. And then I cut back the felt along the hot glue just to make a really nice clean edge at the top there. I did one with a point and one with the kind of banner edges, and I just did this by folding them in half and cutting the felt with great fabric scissors once again. And then the first pennant, I used these little wooden letters and just glued those on. I love the way this looks. I just had a few of the wooden letters left over from an Easter DIY that I did. But if you bought the pack new, I'm sure you could do a longer phrase, which I was really trying to do here for the booze, but didn't have the letters. And then the next one, I just used paint to write a saying on it. So at the dollar store a while ago, I got these blue caps. They came on their own little squeezy bottles, but they screw right on to the dollar store size paints as well. So then you can write with the paint bottles themselves. And I find this works really great for felt because it doesn't pull up the felt in the same way that using a paintbrush does. Then you can get a nice, really thin line with this. Again, I just freehanded this one. Probably most people would want to sketch out something ahead of time, but I was in the mood to just try things, you know? My daughter has already claimed the Boo one for her bedroom, which I'm disappointed because I want to put it somewhere where I get to see it all the time. All right, this one is my very favorite. I am addicted to making these acrylic signs. I made that 2 for fall last year and 1 for Christmas. I just love how easy they are to make. So instead of going and buying acrylic from the craft store, I like to just buy dollar store picture frames. And a lot of the time they have acrylic instead of glass, but you could also use glass here as well. And then you just paint on the back of it. So I used a black and a dark gray for this just to get kind of a marbled effect. Then you're gonna wanna let it dry and then do a second coat so that it is opaque. And then once it's dry, you can flip it over and you can draw on the front. Once again, I freehanded, and this was the only light marker that I had. It's a silver. I would probably choose a white if I was gonna do it again, but I do like how it kind of gives it like a ghostly look. It's a little bit streaky and a little bit imperfect, and now that it's finished, I love it. So I drew a little ghost, and I just wrote Boo. These signs are so easy to make, and you really can't beat the price of a dollar store picture frame for them. Okay, last but not least is these florals. So the dollar store has these skeleton glasses in their Halloween section. They've had them for the past few years, and I know this because I've bought one every year thinking to do the same thing, then haven't done it. So here I am just taking my standard florals that I cut from my garden, and I'm just moving them into the Halloween skull cup. And now I have a super beautiful but spooky floral arrangement for my table for like $1.25. Okay, and then I don't have a video of this one, but I also wanted to throw this in here for you because I do have some minimalist dollar store Halloween decor on my blog from last year. I took this fall garland and spray painted it black to make a wreath for my front door that I am still obsessed with. And then I also spray painted some faux eucalyptus in a vase in my living room and cut out some cute bats. I will link that blog post below if you're interested in learning more tips about that. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss out on any more DIY or home decor videos. Okay, so after I had made this oh, that's a ginormous slug.